While Lu Shang and Cao Cao were speaking in a calm and unhurried manner, the peace was broken by Milton's heavy footsteps. His face was dark with fury, his nostrils flaring as he stomped toward them like a storm about to break. The man's clenched teeth ground audibly, veins tightening along his jaw as his eyes flared with barely contained wrath. In a voice sharp and scathing, he shouted at Lu Shang, calling him a vile wretch. Milton barked that Lu Shang was nothing more than a worthless creature who did not even know what was good for himself, and that it was outrageous for him to approach Cao Cao on the night of such an important occasion. Without warning, he bellowed his sister's name. The sudden outburst caused Chia Chao's eyes to widen in surprise. She turned her head toward Milton with a spark of curiosity. She moved closer to her brother, gesturing toward Lu Shang, and spoke to him in a calm, measured, and sincere tone, telling him to see who she had run into. At that same moment, Lu Shang's own expression held suppressed heat. He too had been roused to irritation. When their eyes met, Milton remained silent for a moment, trying to measure Lu Shang in the tense air between them. Far from being cowed or unsettled, Lu Shang replied with nothing more than a steady, easy smile. Milton's face twisted into a self-satisfied smirk tinged with arrogance as he declared that Lu Shang must have used Lan's connections to wriggle his way into this gathering. Clearly, Milton sneered. Lu Shang had ignored his earlier warning, so he would give it again now. His fist tightened until it trembled, his eyes flashing with malice, and in a voice that cut through the room, he ordered Lu Shang to leave at once. If he refused, Milton swore that both he and his pitiful home planet would be obliterated. Lu Shang, however, stayed completely still, meeting Milton's glare in silence, not the least bit rattled by his threats. While Milton continued to rant, a commotion stirred in the surrounding space. Someone in the area suddenly exclaimed in delight at having found the person they were looking for. Milton froze for a heartbeat at the remark, surprise and suspicion flickering across his face. He had no idea what the excitement was about. Turning to see for himself, his proud expression instantly dissolved into shock. The figure who approached was none other than Lanche, the imposing warrior whose name carried weight throughout the sector. His bearing was calm and commanding, hands clasped neatly behind his back, a faint, almost serene smile resting on his lips. Milton's eyes lit up with visible relief and joy, and the corners of his mouth curved into a forced, ingratiating smile. Could it be Lanche had been speaking to him? Had the great warrior actually sought him out? Attempting to appear warm and respectful, Milton offered his hand as he hurried to deliver his most formal apology, claiming that he had just been about to set out in search of this eminent guest. He explained that he hadn't expected Lanche to be ahead of him and arrive first. Standing slightly behind Milton, Wang kept his distance, watching this strange act in silence and thinking that Milton's behavior was odd. Returning his attention to Lanche, Milton introduced himself nervously, stating his full name, Milton Sith. Lanche regarded him with an emotionless, even cold, stare, plainly puzzled, and asked bluntly who Milton was and why he was blocking his path. For a moment, Milton's eyes flickered with disbelief. Was it possible Lanche hadn't come for him? Then, without further warning, Lanche placed a firm palm on Milton's back and shoved him aside, instructing him to get out of the way and not interfere while he was speaking with Mr. Liu. The push sent Milton off balance, forcing him to stumble forward and land face down with a look of dazed confusion. His thoughts spun wildly. What did Lanche want with Lu Shang? Why was he ignoring him entirely? Lanche, unconcerned, began walking toward Lu Shang. All around, guests turned their attention toward the scene, curiosity pulling them closer. With graceful composure, Lanche placed one hand firmly over his chest as an expression of respect, and with a smile full of admiration addressed Lu Shang as Your Excellency. He remarked that Lu Shang's immortal-level bloodline was extraordinarily rare, so rare that even in the main star sector of the Tian Galaxy, it was almost unheard of. Lu Shang simply gazed at Lanche without speaking. Lanche reached into his garments and produced a golden card, presenting it solemnly and explaining that the Yamu sector would soon be far too narrow to contain someone of Lu Shang's potential. Taking the golden card, Lu Shang's eyes reflected both surprise and interest. With unwavering confidence, Lanche told him that he hoped, when Lu Shang came to the main star sector, he would honor the Lan family with a visit to their estate. He clarified that this was a formal invitation extended on behalf of his father, Marquis Lano, acknowledging Lu Shang as a true warrior bearing an immortal-level bloodline. The gathered visitors collectively drew in sharp breaths. Disbelief flashed in their eyes at the sheer weight of what had just been said. Among the whispering crowd, a man muttered to his acquaintance, asking if that meant Lu Shang really was the legendary immortal-level man of the rumors. The other guest, still shaken, said that after all the searching and speculation, the fabled figure turned out to be this unassuming young man before them. More than that, they could hardly ignore the fact that even the prestigious Lanche family was offering him a formal, courteous invitation, addressing him with the dignity of Your Excellency. While Lanche and Luang chatted, other guests realized that they too could not waste such a rare chance. They surged forward, voices calling out politely but insistently, each eager to secure some connection. In moments, Lu Shang was surrounded on all sides by a wave of requests to visit humble homes, to sit as a guest, even to consider joining certain families. The sudden pressure left Lu Shang momentarily disoriented. Meanwhile, Milton, having just learned the full truth, felt the color drain from his face. The man he had always dismissed and ridiculed, convinced he was only pursuing Chow Chow for a rung on the social ladder, was in truth the centerpiece of the evening's banquet. This was the once-in-a-million-years prodigy with the immortal-level bloodline. Saliva frothed at the edges of Milton's mouth as panic clenched his gut. He had squandered any possibility of goodwill and, worse yet, had personally insulted this figure twice. If the Sith family learned of this disaster, his standing would be utterly destroyed. Tears of sheer dread etched wet tracks down his cheeks as he stared at Lu Shang, unable to reconcile what he knew. Some distance away, the alluring Chow Chow was silently watching, one hand gently covering her mouth. Her eyes betrayed a flicker of rare unease and astonishment. Inwardly, she wondered whether this man was the mysterious genius connected to the strange phenomenon seen earlier that very day. With the crowd pressing in, Lu Shang's patience began to wane. He turned to Lanche with a serious expression and explained that he currently had a small matter to resolve, but he would give thought to the invitation. Lanche inclined his head in respect, declaring his gratitude and deference. Several guests erupted into cheers of Luang, until the noise became almost deafening. Though his eyes glimmered briefly, Lu Shang felt the pounding in his temples. Far too many people. He would have to navigate his way out of this situation somehow. At that moment, the low, resounding hum of Lanche's spacecraft signaled its landing. From the vessel stepped Lanch and Jalen. The high sun shone brightly overhead, causing Lanch to lift a hand to shield his eyes from the piercing light. "Feels like ages since I've seen the sun," he murmured. Jalen, unfazed, was accustomed to extended journeys without daylight. Ahead stood a man with spectacles and a cigarette clutched between his lips, scribbling notes on a small pad. With a brisk and matter-of-fact tone, he told them their ship was secured at dock number 284 and could be released upon presentation of the receipt. Waving them aside dismissively, he went back to his work. Lanch fixed the man with a silent stare until the paper was handed over. Jalen stepped smoothly forward, accepted the document, and offered polite thanks. The courtesy made Lanch bristle. In a sharp voice, he demanded to know whether Jalen had been on his knees for too long, rebuking him for showing gratitude after their confinement. Jalen, keeping his composure, replied that they had been treated remarkably well, the only restriction being a ban on external communication. In fact, he added, they had been given anything they asked for, even women for company. Lanch's temper flared at the memory of his own ordeal. Shackled to a wall, his voice hoarse from screams, as a man approached with an iron rod to exact painful hospitality. The so-called comforts had been nothing but agony to wring information about Lu Shang from him. His fists balled tightly as rage coiled in his chest. He vowed silently that this injustice would be brought to light. Jalen placed a steadying hand on his companion's shoulder, telling him gently to let it go. Their release meant the matter was finished, and it was better to focus on being alive. Lanch clenched his jaw, unwilling to simply drop an issue of this magnitude, for the rare genius in question could easily be at least of the resplendent moon level, perhaps even with the potential to ascend to the radiant sun level. Someone of such caliber might appear in the white mist sector only once in countless years. At that moment came startling news. The immortal level master was no more than 20 years of age. The statement left both men unsettled. In the distance, people were seen hurrying toward the source of the commotion, eager to catch sight of such an individual. Lanch, puzzled, asked aloud what exactly immortal level meant. Jalen explained solemnly that it was the legend of legends, a bloodline of staggering might, born with odds of 1 in a trillion, only ever appearing within the main star sector of Tian Sha. Lanch's thoughts raced as understanding began to form, and a thin sheen of sweat broke across his brow. In celebration, an airship drifted high above, broadcasting a grand proclamation of joy for the birth of an immortal-level transcendent physique in the Yamu star sector, a once-in-a-million-years phenomenon. Suspended beneath the vessel was a massive hologram. Faces turned skyward as everyone strained to see the image of the legendary warrior. Lanch's breath caught in his throat, his eyes going wide, his mouth parting in stunned disbelief. The projection clarified in the bright sky. It was Lu Shang. A tremor of panic ran through Lanch's entire body as understanding hit him in full force, and the words burst from him unrestrained. Lu Shang is the immortal level star genius. And that was it for this chapter. Thanks for watching. Comment cat to let me know that you have watched till the end.